Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture series on machine learning. In the previous lecture, we discussed the three pillars of machine learning. We saw that there are three types of machine learning: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. And in today's lecture, we will learn about supervised learning. So, without any further delay, let's get started. In supervised learning, we provide data to the machine in advance, and along with the data, the class or the correct answers is also defined. And that means we already provide the correct answers to the machine, and this is how the machine learns under the supervision. So, first, we provide machine with the labeled data. The machine reads this data, and then when we provide new data, the machine looks at the old label data and that already has, right? So it understands the pattern from the data and then given answers to our new question. So this is how the supervised learning work. We will see few examples and we will understand the actual meaning of the supervised machine learning. Do you remember when you were in a school and your exams were coming? At that time, your teacher would give you some important questions, and I guess it happens with everyone, right? And the teacher would say, questions like this may be asked in the exam. It was not certain that these questions would definitely come, and the teacher would say that questions like this might be asked, right? So, what would all the students do? They would study those important questions. And now imagine that one of those questions actually asked in your exam, actually comes in your exam, and you can easily write your correct answer, right? Because you already knew that question and its answer, right? Now imagine that none of those important questions come in the exam. Instead, you get a completely new question. What will you do? You will use what you have already learned in the class, and you will apply that knowledge and try to answer the new question, right? So, a machine learns in exactly the same way. First, we provide the machine with the data for which the correct answers are already available. Then, when we provide a new question or a new data, the machine uses labeled data it already has and give a prediction. So, basically, this is how machine learning works. And right now, we are talking about supervised learning, right? So, this is how supervised learning works. Let's take another example to understand supervised learning. Suppose you are learning how to drive a car and you have a trainer with you. The trainer tells you from the beginning what to do and what not to do, right? So, these instructions given by the trainer are like your training data. They contain labels about what to do and what not to do. Slowly, you learn from these instructions, and later when you drive the car alone on the road and your trainer is not with you, what do you do? You use what you have already learned, and you remember the correct actions that your trainer taught you and you behave accordingly, right? So you drive the car based on that knowledge. So this is an example of supervised learning for human being. The trainer is there in the beginning, but later the trainer is not always with you, right? So this is another example of supervised learning, and we are using these human examples to understand the concept of supervised machine learning. Let's take one more example. Suppose you're looking at a dictionary and you want to understand the meaning of a particular word. In the dictionary, you already have the word and it's a definition, right? That means the correct answer is already available to you. So what happens? You learn from the dictionary when you read it. Now, whenever you see that word again, you already know its correct meaning, so you can give the answer, right? So this is also similar to supervised learning. Okay, now let's move to the more technical part of the supervised learning. How does the first type of machine learning, that is supervised learning, actually work? First, in supervised learning, we train the model using labeled data. Along with the labels, we provide many examples. These examples contain both input and output, and from these examples, the machine understands the pattern and it learns that when the input looks like this, the answer can be like this only, and when the input looks like that, the answer can be like that only. So, machine learns this pattern by itself, and this process is called the training, right? So, then comes the testing part. When we test the model using new data or sometimes test data, the answer given by the model is called a prediction. So why do we call it a prediction? Because when we give the machine a new question, it gives us an answer based on what it learned. It is telling us that this could be the answer. That's why we call it a prediction, because ultimately it's a machine, and we cannot say that whatever machine is saying is 100% correct, right? So we call it prediction. Now let's understand why it is called supervised learning. Supervised learning is a process where we guide the machine using correct answers, and it is just like a teacher guiding a student. So we provide the correct answers and train the machine using them, right? That is the basic idea of supervised learning. Supervised learning is mainly used to solve two major problems: classification problem and the regression problem. In classification, the machine predicts categories, and in regression, the machine predicts numerical value. We will learn about both the categories, both the problems, classification and regression, in detail in upcoming lectures. Let's take an technical example, that how do we train a machine and what type of data do we provide. As you can see, we will see the sample data set. We will take the example of movie review. So as you can see on the screen, there are three sections: id, text, that is movie review, and the class. So when we train the model, we provide id. Here it's a 1, some text, and class, that is positive. So already I am telling to the machine that for this type of review, the class or the prediction should be positive. In this way, we are providing the multiple data. So, altogether, this 5 text movie review along with the ID and the class, we call them sample data set. So, we are training our model with this data set. And how internally machine works, actually it checks the combination and the relationship between two or a three or a multiple words, and based on that actually it gives the prediction. So that is the pattern. So from the data it learns the pattern. Now let's test the model. So here we are giving id 6, and we have given one text review, text movie review, and we are asking for the class. Similarly, we are asking the we are giving the second review and we are asking for the class. And now machine has predicted the class positive for id 6 and class negative for the id 7. So this is called testing, and the output which we get, that is as a class, that is called the prediction. Let's sum up this entire supervised learning. So what machine does in the supervised learning? First, training data comes. So in the previous example, we took review with known labels, that is positive and negative, which we use to teach the model. So very first is a training data. Then we give the testing data. New reviews without labels used to check whether the model has learned correctly or not. And finally, the goal. What was the goal? Prediction. So the goal is for the model to predict the class of unseen reviews based on what it learned from the training data. So this is the core of the technical part of supervised machine learning. Okay, so see you in the next video. Till then, bye bye. Take care.